It is so cold. So.
Daddy, hi.
Hi. There's lots of snow here to make a really big snowman.
Yeah.
Right, bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye. While they're having fun outside, I'm gonna be nice and toasty warm inside. And while the weather's like this, obviously I don't have too much scope to go out and make lots of driving videos, so you're gonna have to make do with the video in my little cave here today. So I want to talk about the Porsche 992. The Porsche 992 is the newest generation of the new 911. It's a bigger, more powerful and really good looking sports car, and a car which is really growing on myself. In fact, my next big car purchase, I did want to go for a 991 GT3, which you'd probably pick up in the area of around 105, 110,000 pounds. But since the 992 has been released, or is due to be released, looking at the figures on the Porsche website, you can get a Carrera from about 93 grand or a Carrera 4S from about 98 grand. Yes, you're probably going to put about 10-15 grand worth of options on that, but still you're probably looking at the same price as a 991 GT3. And when you consider the 991 will have about 475 to 500 brake horsepower, the 992 Carrera 4S will have about 450 brake horsepower. Obviously, plus you're going to get your Porsche warranty. You're not going to have to worry about the finger followers on the 991 GT3. Or worried about the 10-year warranty expiring. But that's for a completely different video. In this video, I really just want to focus on the Porsche 992 and 9 things that you need to know about this car. Let's get into it. So what's new with the 992? Well, the same silhouette shape has been around since 1965. The rear end of the car has a wraparound tail light. The way the bumper joins the front wings at the front of the car is a little bit different. Other than that, you would be mistaken into thinking that this car was actually a 991, unless you're really in the know. So I'm going to talk you through a few things that will allow you to set the 991 aside from the 992. So what is the 992? Well, the 992 is just an internal chassis code. Previous generations of 911 have been, say for example, the 964, the 993, the 996, the 997, and the previous generation, which is the 991. Now the 992 is 0.8 inches longer than the 991, and it remains its wheelbase of 96.5 inches. But the sports chassis option is 1.3 inches bigger than the 991 because of the front chin spoiler. The front end track is wider by 1.8 inches, the rear end track is wider by 1.5 inches. Now we're going to move on to wheel diameters. Apart from the GT3 RS and the GT2 RS, Porsche have never had different wheel diameters. Yes, they've had different wheel widths, which has been quite common since the 70s in fact, but different diameters has never been seen before on a Porsche 911 standard road car like your Carrera 4S. So the rear of the car will have 21-inch wheels, the front of the car will have 20-inch wheels. Now these different size tyres is ultimately going to improve traction control and help it supply a steady amount of grip. And now on to number 3. For the first time in a 911, the brake booster is electrically pressurized. Now the braking system itself is not a brake-by-wire system as such, but the electric brake booster will simplify any future electric version. And while we're on the subject of brakes, the new 992 gets a new, shorter, lighter brake pedal, which is apparently 41% lighter. It has a shorter travel and a more precise response. A new 13.8-inch brakes on the rear replace the previous 13-inch brake systems. And staying with brakes, the new rear larger spoiler also acts as an air brake now. So for the 992, Porsche have stiffened up the front and rear suspension. Based on the 991.2, the new 992 standard chassis has a firmer suspension by 14% on the front and 15% on the rear. If you go for the sport chassis, well, it'll be, I think it's 18% stiffer on the front, 23% stiffer on the rear, which is quite a big difference. Hello? Hello?
This Astra's got spotlights on the front fog lights. The other one hasn't. There's not a great deal there, to be honest with you, but
See you later. That was my brother. He's buying a new car and he wants my advice. Should he go for a Peugeot or a Vauxhall? Anyway, engine mounts in the 992. To get better control of the 992, the engine mounts have gone forwards by 6.6 inches. Previously, the mounts were at the very back of the engine in the 991. Now, the new placement provides a better and a stiffer link between the engine and the gearbox, and it actually does a better job of holding the engine in place during high-speed G maneuvers. Now, the passive mounts are standard, but the adaptive mounts remain an option, as they did with the 991. Right, so check the next one out. This is, on paper, one of my favourite features of the car. Whether it's technology just going too far or whether it will actually work in the real world or not remains to be seen. But the car has a system called wet mode, and what this is it has a microphone in each wheel well, and when the microphone picks up the sound of slapping water being picked up by the tyres, a message is sent through to the driver to say that water has been detected, and it recommends you put the car into wet mode. Now, when you're switching to wet mode, it mellows out the throttle, and if you're in an automatic car, it will keep the car in higher gears for longer. It reduces engine torque and it diminishes the LSD tendency to lock up. Also, the stability control and the anti-lock brakes will become more sensitive. Now, next up we have a new larger air-to-air intercooler which has moved from behind the rear wheels to behind the engine, and the new location actually reduces the distance that the compressed air travels to the intercooler. It improves the flow over the intercooler, and the larger size increases cooling capacity. Next up, PDK. The new 992 will have an 8-speed automatic transmission box instead of the previous generation's 7-speed, and it will be closely related to the automatic gearbox which is currently in the new Panamera. Now, the extra ratios allow for a shorter first gear, a taller top gear, and the transmission will also facilitate the integration of a hybrid powertrain when or if that eventually even happens. Now, Porsche claiming that the gearbox can handle up to 590 foot-pounds of torque, which probably means that the turbo model of this car will have at least that much. And finally, the weight of the cars. The weight of the cars, unfortunately, does not make great reading. As with all 911s these days, they just keep getting heavier and heavier, unfortunately. I've got the weights written down here. It's not a massive amount, but yes, they are getting heavier. So for the 992, the Carrera S, we have 1,515 kilograms. The 991 was 1,495, so that's an extra 20 kilograms there. With regards to the 4S, the new weight is 1,565 kilograms. The previous weight was 1,539. So you're looking at an extra 26 kilograms in the 4S. Now, I wish Porsche wouldn't do it. I know they've got more systems to actually incorporate into the cars, and what they're actually doing is the cars they should be heavier, but they are counteracting that a little bit by putting less steel in the cars, more aluminium in the cars. So although they're putting more and more modules in, more and more systems in, they're actually doing quite a good job of keeping the weight down. These cars should probably be another 50 or 60 kilograms heavier, but they've done a good job in keeping it just around about the 20-ish mark. It still probably won't put me off going to test drive one, and I can't wait for the day that they are actually available to test drive, because I will be doing it. So I appreciate if you've stuck with me this far through the video. Not the most exciting video you'll ever see, but the weather circumstances outside are dictating the style in which I can present my videos at the minute. Hopefully once the snow clears we'll be back to normal and we'll get some good videos out of the cars rolling around. Tell me what you think of the 992, put a comment in the box below. Will you be test driving one? Are you happy with your current Porsche 911? Does the thought of the 992 knock you absolutely sick? Like I say, I am really interested. We've got a bit of housework to do first of all. Once we get that out of the way, then I'll be looking at seriously getting a 991 GT3 or a 992, probably a 4S. So thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe to the video, and I'll see you next time on Driver 81.